Hello, everybody. Welcome to Simply Technical. Evan Keaton back here again. Going to talk a little bit about Twitter, their issues, and maybe even get into some little bit of Twitter's potential. And first, I just saw recently the big thing that popped up last night is the "What is a Woman" debacle with Twitter blocking what conservatives are calling free speech. And I guess they had this big contract with Twitter, and then Twitter said, "Oh, it's all good, but let's watch it." So they watch it, and they said, "Okay, there's a couple things in here that we don't like. We need you to edit those out." And then the Daily Wire said, "Well, we don't want to edit those out because this is a free speech platform." So then, who was it, Keaton? Somebody resigned, right?
Yeah, the head of trust and safety at
Trust and
Twitter ended
safety,
up resigning
like the next
last
day.
night. Yeah, or
Yeah,
the next day.
and it was because when they posted it, it got blocked by Twitter. They said it didn't show up in anybody's feeds. You couldn't retweet it. You couldn't like it. You couldn't share it. It was very interesting.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, issue aside, I guess before we really jump into what all happened, it seemed like they suppressed it and they said you couldn't like retweet it or whatever, and that it was harmful. Um, but you could still see all the tweets that all the Daily Wire guys were saying about it, and they were like being amplified because I don't follow any of them, and I was seeing them all over my Twitter timeline, and I was like, this almost seems like better marketing for it than if it was able to just be directly retweeted on the feed, but but back to the actual issues. Elon bought the company, said it was going to be a free speech platform. Kind of seemed like he was sticking to that, at least in the U.S. I think we talked about this before about free speech in other countries not necessarily being a thing on Twitter, but they had this thing where it seemed like Elon had this dispute with someone high up at Twitter, and it took how many hours did it take to get resolved? I just remember seeing all these guys tweeting.
6 hours, maybe
Yeah.
quicker, but
So
the tweet.
it's like hidden during the 6 hours, whatever amount of time, and then that lady resigns, and all of a sudden Elon himself was tweeting it out.
He retweeted it and he even posted it and said "I'm encouraging you. If you're a parent, you should watch this." And then under commented again saying, "Obviously, you're an adult. You don't have to listen to what I say. It could be a trigger warning to people, so be careful." But he did his due diligence of saying, "I have this huge platform and I own it and I'm going to encourage it."
Yeah.
At least the free speech part of maybe he felt bad that it happened. So
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was kind of, I guess, like just the substance of the documentary aside. To me, it was kind of encouraging to see that he actually stuck to his guns. I think that definitely probably had some advertiser issues, especially being in June. So I'm sure advertisers weren't very happy about it. But I guess stick to the.
I think that's one of the reasons why Daily Wire released it when they did. Because
I'm sure.
So the documentary came out a while ago, a year ago, I think.
Probably.
And they wanted to specifically make it free for the start of Pride Month. Because Matt Walsh specifically posted about saying this was targeted to be at this time. And so it was free for everybody. Normally it's a movie that's behind Daily Wire's paid content, behind their paywall. But for 24 hours, they're letting everyone on Twitter watch it for free because it's a free speech platform. Kind of benefits Twitter a little bit. But I believe Elon did say there's no ads on it. We're not going to allow any ad revenue because we are free speech, but we also, companies have a right to say, I don't want to advertise with this video or this type of video. Which currently it is at 82 million views.
That is wild. I guess views doesn't necessarily mean watch the documentary.
Watch time, yeah.
But if you even get I don't know, 5% of that, that's 4 million people viewed. I mean, that is huge marketing for them.
Well, and it's probably one of the first videos. I mean, I haven't seen anything. I mean, it's an hour and a half long. I haven't seen
Oh
any.
yes, I've never seen a that long of a thing get embedded on Twitter.
Yeah, so that might be another thing of like releasing this new feature.
Oh, interesting.
Because well, also the other thing I saw was the Babylonian Bee, which is one. So one of the reasons why Elon even bought Twitter is because the Babylonian Bee got banned for misgendering someone, which is a free speech issue. And I don't want to dive too deep into it, but they got banned for misgendering people, and Twitter banned them. And one of the reasons why Elon bought Twitter was to unban them because of free speech. So they did a podcast. Their like founders did a podcast with Elon, and it was long form, like super long form.
And they posted on the
Twitter.
platform.
Yeah, an hour and 7
Oh,
minutes, and it came out beginning of May or end of May, excuse me.
interesting.
So maybe that's another thing of.
So this is that potential I talked a little bit about on Twitter, and I think we'll get into a little bit more later. So I don't want to get into it yet, but yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised that Elon has stuck to his guns on this stuff. I really thought he was going to cave on the free speech thing, but he really hasn't. And I wonder if it's actually affected the user base at all, because I don't see like rise of hate speech and bots and whatnot, like everyone said at all. And they can show it in the stats all they want, but what matters is it actually showing up on your timeline. That's what I care about. And no, I don't see that anymore.
Yeah, I do see more bots, but they're like AI bots, I guess you would say. They're like a bot for, I don't know if you've ever seen it, make a quote bot.
Oh yeah,
where you can like you follow this bot and then you tag them in something that somebody said, and they'll make a post about it that looks kind of official artwork style. There's one that's like Jim roast me or something like that I've seen recently. So there's more bots, but they're like helpful bots. They're not, hey, watch my video on YouTube bot that spams the same link 45 times with 100 different accounts. Like those, I guess you could call them harmful bots, maybe. So those are becoming more prevalent as far as like being helpful. But go ahead.
I was also thinking, remember like connection. Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, and all the world was talking about how Twitter was going to collapse, and they were all saying their precious goodbyes, and it was like the dumbest trend of all time. And here it is, like,
operating with 30% of the staff.
30% of the staff pushing out these new features, the Twitter Blue, which I don't think is that great right now, but this potential podcast platform, potential long form video platform. Seems like they are poised to be the big social media platform in my mind.
Well, I think they had limited themselves. I mean, it was cool that you could, what was 144 characters was the original limit. Like it was cool to have things and not a big, long, sappy post. So like it had its niche in the beginning, but obviously you have to evolve to stay relevant. And limiting everybody to 144 characters, and then it became like 288 or something, 280.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I like
features,
short.
But...
Yeah, I like the short character thing. It gets your thoughts precise. It gets you to the point immediately. I don't like the addition of the long form stuff, but that's fine. I mean, I guess as long as everyone isn't doing it, it's fine. But it's the other things, the new things that I think can really be impactful. Like, there's not really a good podcast platform where the search in the algorithmic recommendation system is very good. Podcasts podcast search is best on YouTube right now. That's the best way to get discovered. That's the place where we get most of our views. So there's this place where a social media company, can be that first one to be the podcast recommendation algorithm or podcast feed essentially for everyone. And I think Twitter has a good way to do that, because not only do you have the ability to post your stuff on there, and if they make it more native, it'll be a lot easier. If you could close the app and still listen to it, that's great. But also people have the ability to like live comment, and it's so much easier to see feedback on Twitter than any other social media.
Yeah,
So
I think they have a job to do as far as like, hey, I don't want to listen to any podcasts. Like, keep me off of that. But another thing is hashtags. Like, if you hashtag something for Spotify, I don't think you're really going to find anything. Like, to search for a podcast, you have to like know the name of it or know very closely similar to the title of it. Whereas YouTube, hey, you watch this video, here's a 30-minute video about the same thing. Are you still interested in that? So like, yeah, YouTube is definitely a lot better, but hashtagging on Twitter will probably be more effective than a lot of the other podcasting platforms.
Yeah. And also, I can already see these AI models where, you don't have to have an exact. Right now on Twitter, you have to type in exactly what you want to see. So if you want to see a tweet that all the tweets related to Elon and Daily Wire, you type in Elon Daily Wire, you'll see thousands and thousands. But you can get even more specific. You want to see all the tweets that I've done with Keen Miner and Elon Musk. I don't know how many I've had. Probably not that many. You can do that. But in the near future, the very near future, all these companies are going to incorporate, oh, you might have meant similar to this. You wanted to look up Simply Technical and an AI podcast, which we've done one before. Okay, you type in Simply Technical, but you can't. You instead you put machine learning, and in every other podcast platform, you're never going to find us. Well, I guess if you say Simply Technical, but imagine we're one of the top podcasts and we do an AI podcast, and someone just looks up AI or machine learning podcast. Well, you're never going to see our AI podcast because the recommendation algorithms aren't quite good enough most of the time. But with the new models and a little bit better recommendation, it'll be like, oh, you probably meant also artificial intelligence. And so that one rises up. And Twitter can easily switch that. I mean, it's like Google search. Google search does that pretty well. But why don't podcast platforms? They've never done that well. If I can't find anything I like on Apple outside of the stuff I already like. It's like, I stick with the ones that I like already, and I don't really. I'll discover one or two every year that I enjoy, but on YouTube I find new stuff all the time.
Well, go ahead.
That's how podcasts can be.
Okay, so I follow what you're saying exactly, but there is another side to it that YouTube does bad at, and that is the subscriptions. But the For You page or the trending page for you, I guess, that rules everyone's YouTube likes or YouTube watches. Which means subscriptions mean zero. Now it might mean a little in the algorithm, but if I'm watching something that I'm not subscribed to at all, let's say I watched 4 hours of Wine TV from Gary Vaynerchuk. Say I watched 4 hours of that, and I'm not subscribed to any of his stuff or any type of wine things. I'm going to see a bunch of wine videos on my For You page, which means subscriptions mean nothing. So there is a backhand to that. Now, your subscriptions or your likes on Apple or Spotify for podcasts means a lot more. It's very important to have, hey, I like these people's content. I need to follow it. So I follow it and I see them all the time. So there is kind of a backhand to the YouTube side, and there's a happy medium. Sense. There's a happy medium in there, and YouTube does a bad job of the subscription side, because how many people do you see all the time pushing well, be subscribed, be subscribed, be subscribed. Well, it really doesn't mean that much except for the number to inflate your ego.
Yeah.
And then the next portion they push on you is, well, make sure you turn notifications on because you never see my videos on your For You page or your, trending page. So make sure you have my notifications on so you know when I post. So it's just this like extra layer every time something becomes really popular. Okay, well, everyone needs subscriptions. Okay, well, now we all have subscriptions and now no one's watching our content from subscriptions. Okay, well, now you need to turn my post notifications on so that you can see. And okay, that's going to get flooded with everybody. Okay, or they're going to turn notifications off. Okay, what's the next thing? So it's just going to always build itself from the trending page all the time.
Yeah.
So following means nothing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do see, a lot of podcasters say that the podcast, like a podcast audience, is by far the most loyal audience as compared to a YouTube. And yeah, I don't know how Twitter, I guess, could strike that balance right. I guess for me, I'm just most interested in discoverability right now, but it makes sense. Like as you get bigger, you're a lot more interested in loyalty than discoverability. But
Because you're at
yeah,
that size, you're always going to be growing. So like,
yeah,
your video is more likely to get recommended to somebody because you have 30,000 views rather than the 10. So you don't really care as much about discoverability as you put it.
yeah.
But you do care about, because you're going to constantly grow. I mean, it might not be as fast as if you get on the trending page or whatever, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, do you see? Well, another thing to add to the podcast style is Tucker Carlson. I'm on Twitter right now, and it's on. You might also like, and Tucker Carlson's on there. That's kind of a big deal as well. Him getting fired from Fox News or leaving Fox News, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you familiar with that?
I mean, I know that he got fired, but
he's been discussing, I guess, with Musk about launching some type of media on Twitter and just going live on Twitter and doing a live show as Tucker Carlson, which, I mean, he is Tucker Carlson, but like doing a show from Twitter instead of being on a news media outlet.
Interesting. So yeah, this is, I guess you could see that Twitter becoming this more than what it always has been is super fascinating. And I didn't realize that he was doing that. I mean, you go along with that and you saw that Ron DeSantis announced his candidacy on Twitter in a Twitter Spaces. And I guess there were so many people that viewed it that it crashed for 20 minutes. And like these things never happened before. So something about Twitter is potentially super powerful that I hope that people start to find some success when they start to launch all these long, I guess it would be like a long form video Tucker Carlson is doing.
Yeah, maybe like a 20-minute segment. I mean, he probably won't have as many ads as like, which another thing on ads I can go into, but
yeah, how do they make money? I guess it needs to...
I mean, I'm sure he would have his own, like just on podcasts, like you read an ad read. But as far as ads, you never want ads playing at the beginning of your video. That's 100%, especially if you're a small content creator or a smaller, form or smaller company. Because if you have an ad at the beginning, the last thing I want to, is it really worth watching 15 seconds of ads to watch this video? Well, I don't know. And so you just turn it off.
Are you talking about YouTube or
in general? Like, just in general, like YouTube, it's not a big deal as big a deal, but like on Twitch, like for live content, like if you're on Twitch and you click on somebody's video, it's going to play an ad for you almost immediately, and it's going to be 30 seconds of ads, and you're just going to stop watching because I don't want to watch 30 seconds. Hey, this person has 10 viewers. I want to check them out. You click on them, 30 seconds of ads. Okay, I really don't want to check them out that bad. See ya.
Yeah.
So playing ads at the beginning of videos is terrible. It's terrible for your watchability.
Yeah, I could see that on that platform. I guess I've never cared about a pre-roll ad on YouTube just because most of them are like 5 seconds that you can skip.
Yeah. Well, how many people are you watching new?
New?
Yeah, like new. Like obviously, okay, I want to watch Elon Musk. I want to watch Elon Musk. Okay, I look up a video. I'm very interested in this video. You click on it. Okay, it has a 15-second ad. Not that big a deal because I really want to watch the video. You click on somebody that you kind of like more or less like. I don't really care that much about the content, but I kind of am a little interested. So you click on it,
Yeah,
and you get a 15-second ad. I don't really care anymore. I don't want
that's
to watch the video.
yeah. I can see
It's
that.
that short attention span. Maybe it's just me.
Well, everyone's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, so
Yeah. So those 15-second ads are going to be more important to be 10 seconds next time.
yeah.
Um, what kind of features do you? Well, before I ask this question, I don't necessarily know about Twitter's if these things are because of Elon, because he's smart, or if they're because he's fresh blood, and some of these ideas could have been floated around Twitter before he got there.
I yeah,
Um,
that's where
so like
that's it.
Jack could obviously be claiming some of these things, but I think a lot of it from an engineering side, I think a lot of it is fresh blood. It's easy to be the new eyes looking on to a platform that I'm sure they were comfortable. They weren't making money, but they were comfortable. They, were satisfied. Well, you get somebody in that's not satisfied, they're hungry, and they hear an idea and they can run with it, or they're fresh blood or fresh eyes on on a product. Hey, well, I can make this better this way. And you just have these you just have new ideas that are very beneficial. And I'm not discrediting Elon for being smart. I mean, obviously he's a genius, but fresh eyes is a big deal. Like from a design standpoint,
Yeah,
oh, I never thought of it that way. Okay,
yeah,
yeah, that's cool. Like that's fresh eyes looking at something is what I'm getting at.
yeah. I think you're dead on, and I mean, it's also the big company problem where everything becomes slow and bureaucratic. It's like, oh, do we actually want to risk changing the blue font slightly darker blue? No, we can't risk that. We can't do it. Like they won't even make these tiny changes, and let alone massive changes. I saw this thing about how they had Twitter Blue out and ready to go years ago, and that code was just sitting there, unused because we're not going to do this. And I'm sure they had all these media players. They had live streaming on Twitter before, and they did away with it. I don't know why. I guess maybe the amount of data it takes up is probably pretty large. But I'm sure there's lots of things that they had before. And I was listening to a podcast today with Andre Karpathy, who was who's like probably top 10 AI researcher slash designer, I guess, in the world. And the dude, right out of his PhD, was made head of AI at Tesla, and so he started all the autopilot stuff, and he's at OpenAI, leading up that team as one of the three big names over there. And but what he was talking about was the Tesla process, and he was like, the whole like Elon, what makes him so good is he knows the engineering, and they make a big deal about that. But he was like, what really makes him good is he just strips away all the bureaucracy. He says, no meetings, just do it. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to mess around. You don't need to you come to me with a crazy idea. All right, well, let's try it out. And I'm sure that's kind of how Twitter is. It's like all these engineers, these fresh eyes come and say, well, we could do this. And he's probably just like, all right, let's do it. I mean, they launched how many features within that first month? And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't like they were building it. It was just they had the guts to put it out there. And nothing bad happened to them. That I don't think the user base really changed that much. The advertisers left, but not because of the new features. They left because it became the politically correct thing to do. It became like a meme essentially. Um, but yeah, I think it's just his business style. What Andre Karpathy said is when he talked about Tesla and SpaceX, he said he runs the biggest startups in the world. So the startup sort of mentality is you iterate and fail fast, and then you iterate again. You do it until it works. And I guess that's kind of what the idea they seem to have brought to Twitter.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, working at a massive company in Oklahoma City, you can incorporate like your own team, but obviously getting something big done is pretty difficult. And the meetings are too many meetings. The meetings of, hey, we scheduled a 30-minute meeting, we need to take up all 30 minutes. Like, no.
Yeah.
That's not okay. We talked about this on Tuesday, but let's talk about it on Thursday when we have our other meeting. Like, no. I don't want to do that. Which for him to be in meetings all day, I'm sure he is. But if he had the amount of meetings that I guess a typical CEO would have, the dude wouldn't be able to leave ever with between the 3 companies or 4 companies he has, 4 large ones, I guess. Boring Company, Twitter, SpaceX, Tesla. Am I forgetting any?
I think.
But like those are big players for him. He would never be able to do anything ever if he stayed in all the meetings and was there all the time. So
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
it's more for himself really than
yeah,
anything.
yeah.
His own
There's no
sanity.
way he's he's a CEO of all these companies. There's no way he's on boots on the ground, running the small, like, you do this, you do this, you do this, CEO style. No, he is just keeping it streamlined, and he's saying, get rid of that. It's like cutting away the fat basically, and we're just gonna make this lean and run. That's what I'm here for. I'm not necessarily here to get my hands dirty on all the little details. And it's kind of annoying. I guess I like Elon. I really really used to love Elon. I generally agree with what he says, but I wish he wasn't so political. I think but it's what's frustrating about the whole thing is I wish he would say that more often. It seems like he likes to have this impression that he's basically hands dirty with every single company, but I don't think there's no way. There's just not enough time. But instead, he's just a ruthlessly efficient.
Yeah, and maybe his philosophy is I would rather us lose somebody's salary over doing a feature than lose my CFO salary because we didn't do something. We didn't release a feature.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that mentality does matter a lot. And at smaller companies, yeah, you might, if you spend too long on something, you might, go in the hole some. But in general, that's easier to do as far
Yeah,
as like growing there and
yeah,
growing your product.
you're at a small company, and you're literally just trying to survive. Like, you got to innovate to survive. But at a big company, you've already got the cash flow. I mean, might as well just sit on your hands and not ever risk potentially hurting that cash flow.
Well, to add to that, let the little guy do it and just buy them. I think we talked about that before, maybe
That
with
seems to be
Chance.
that's
Is
become
like,
the strategy.
why would I innovate when I can just buy a smaller company? But
That's generally, that's generally been the strategy for big companies, especially big tech companies, until this year. And Twitter is one example, but the big example has been uh, Microsoft and AI when they did buy OpenAI. Like, yeah, they definitely bought OpenAI, but through that they have been shipping products nonstop. Have you seen that video like this last week of the like Windows Copilot they're about to offer?
mm,
It looks incredible. It's just like an AI assistant that you can ask anything and it will just run it for you on your Windows computer. It will tell you where to do, how to do it. It'll start entering things in for you, send your emails. It's like the all-in-one. And that's a big company that's innovating. So these big companies, they have the ability to innovate. They've just been so, because they hire the best engineers in the world, like, flat out, especially Google. They have always had the ability to innovate. They just are afraid to, uh, for who knows what reason. Just
yeah. Do you have any more final thoughts on Twitter or Elon?
No, I just think that I think that the new CEO has the chance to really make the biggest social media in the world. But I don't know. I guess I would call it more like media in the world, because it will sort of evolve into a media rather than. I guess you don't call YouTube social media, do you? Not really.
I
Kind
just
of.
call it video content
Yeah.
platform.
I think Twitter evolves into a media platform that
Well,
has a social aspect.
the social aspect is Google's trying to incorporate that a little bit. I don't know if you've scrolled very far on your subscription page or on your For You page. It pops up on my For You page some. I see a lot of ads, and I've gotten to where I can kind of zone them out some, but
Mm-hmm.
I will see posts from people. It'll be a screenshot. It'll just be a photo, and they'll post it. It might be a tweet or something, but
I
it'll
have
say
seen that a
something,
few
and you can
times.
like it or dislike it. You can comment on it, or like a lot of times they'll run polls, and so like I think Google and YouTube is trying to dip their toe a little bit into that side.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have to do it slowly because they need the people to stay.
They're
Um,
afraid.
they're afraid that they're going to go too far out and people are going to not like it. But there's not a good right now. There's not a good replacement for YouTube.
Yeah, am I crazy
Um,
though to think that going from the social to the media part is a more natural jump than from the media to trying to make it a social
social,
media?
yes, because it seems more drastic from
Yeah.
media to social than it is from social to media.
Hmm.
Because, like, if you think of the natural progression for Twitter, okay, we had short tweets and we had videos and photos. Well, the videos were limited to what, a minute probably.
Hmm.
Okay, well then they got increased a little bit, and they get increased a little bit more and a little bit more. And I think for Twitter Blue they were capped at like 10 or 11 minutes or something. Well, now as of end of May, capped at who knows? I don't know, but I've seen an hour and a half long thing. So that seems very natural to just expand. Like, okay, well now we have the server space to be able to host hour and a half long videos, and a million people can watch it at once or whatever it is, rather than yeah, we post videos that are hour long, and okay, well now you can post photos, and now you can post text, and now you can like it and comment on it, and okay, well here's your For You page for text and photos. Like, that seems kind of backwards,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I mean, you got to do it slowly. Like Twitter, I feel like you could expand a little bit, and maybe I'm kind of confirmation biased to this a little bit, but you can. I feel like you can just expand quicker because it's social media rather than media.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Well, do you have any hot takes?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, I think they're gonna. I think Twitter is gonna end up like hiring someone like Tucker Carlson and maybe some other political commentators and maybe even some content creators, kind of like how Spotify did with like Joe Rogan.
Mm,
Um, and I've seen that rumor before of Joe Rogan joining Twitter and hosting on there. But I think they hire people or give them some type of like ad revenue split that's pretty good to get people on the platform.
that
Hey,
makes sense.
you already have the 2 million followers on Twitter. Look, look how many impressions you get already. Imagine now if we boosted it just slightly to other people, and you posted this video with your ad for Ray-Bans,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. So I think it would be very easy sell to do something like that, even if you didn't pay them, because like Spotify is paying Joe Rogan ridiculous. iHeartRadio, nobody talks about them, but they hired Will Ferrell to do a Ron Burgundy podcast, for Will Ferrell to play as Ron Burgundy and do a podcast. So like
Really.
they're all competing for this kind of stuff. Yeah, iHeart pays a ton of people to do podcasts for them because they were the number one podcasting before Spotify kind of took off with Joe Rogan and some other
Hmm.
content creators. So that's kind of my hot take is they'll expand the media a little bit and they'll either hire somebody or work out some type of ad revenue split or boosting for their profiles and videos.
Yeah. Well,
Do you have
makes
anything?
sense. Oh, I think I agree with that. I hope it doesn't get only, political to where it's only one-sided. I think it'll be hard to get like the equivalent of a Tucker Carlson for a left wing. Number one, because they'll boycott it. Number two, because I don't really think there is an equivalent. I don't know for sure, but it seems like Tucker Carlson's like super popular with the right wing, and I don't know, is there really like super popular? It seems like the left wing commentators are more distributed.
Who's the lady on MSNBC? Short hair. I don't know, but
I
it
don't know.
does. It's very interesting. Like Sean Hannity is a right wing. It's in. This is just kind of something I just now noticed. I feel like the left side or liberals, Democrats, they tend to latch on to platforms or to medias, and conservatives tend to latch on to people and to like. I don't think people were really all that attached to Fox News, but people are attached to Sean Hannity and to Tucker Carlson and Jesse Wader, or is it Wader Waters?
I have no idea who that is.
Like, I feel like conservatives are just latch on to people and they're like, oh, I like this guy. He,
Dang.
Like Walter Cronkite, I don't know.
Could be some deep psychological reasons for this.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll have to discover.
But I think it's kind of interesting. Like, and that's might be why liberals tend to not latch onto a specific person, or why we don't know these names as much, is because they don't tend to latch onto that person as much.
Yeah, I mean, now that you say that, it's kind of true with like politics all the way through. Like Democrats don't seem to revere their politicians as much as hard right people can. Like people love Donald Trump. What was it? People always said that like Joe Biden had an unlimited floor, meaning like his fans could end up hating him, with an unlimited ceiling, meaning he could pull people to his side.
His base.
And then Trump, they always said like he had a hard floor because his fans, no matter what he did, were going to love him. And then he had a hard ceiling because his non-fans, anti-fans, I don't know, were never going to like him no matter what he did. And it's very weird. Like it does seem to be a sort of definite psychological thing is why do right-wing people latch onto, or more likely to latch onto figures, and left-wing people more likely to latch onto like platforms, I guess, ideas instead.
Yeah, that's interesting. We'll think about that, and maybe that'll be another topic. Maybe we'll get somebody on, do some research on it. But this has been Simply Technical. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.